S. Chand presents educational video lectures as per the new UGC curriculum. Difficult concepts made easy. Study anywhere, anytime.
So in a small town in India, a person namely Ravi entered into a contract to buy a piece of land for his personal purpose from a seller definitely. However, later on it was found that the seller was not authorized to sell the land, which all of a sudden declared the contract void between them, and Ravi was left empty handed. So this particular slide will let you know the meaning of void agreements. Therefore, the above circumstance highlights the importance of verifying the legal status of anything before entering into the contracts.
If you want to study this topic in detail, refer to the book by S. Chand Publishing and Vikas Publishing House. Link is provided in the description box.
Welcome to S. Chand Academy. My name is Mohit Kapil. Today we are here to discuss about the another topic, and that is void agreements. So let us move to the video. Now let us understand the meaning of a void agreement. A void agreement refers to the contract that is not legal in accordance with the law. Let me tell you, void agreement. Please remember, we already had a discussion regarding the same topic. Void agreement, when we were talking about the valid contracts and the classification of contracts. So void agreement refers to the contract which is absolutely not legal and which is not enforceable by law. For example, if an offer and acceptance is made either by any incompetent party, or if the agreement involves, if that agreement involves any unlawful object, or if there is no consideration involved in the agreement, such agreements are always known as void agreements. I hope this topic is clear to you. So let me tell you what we have studied in this particular slide. We have studied about void agreement. So I was telling you that the meaning of a void agreement. A void agreement refers to a contract which is not legal in accordance with the law. For example, if there is an offer and acceptance which is made either by any incompetent party, among the contracting parties, then that leads to a void agreement. Or if the agreement involves any unlawful object, then that again leads to the void agreement. Or if there is no consideration involved. Consideration means if there is no something which is not involved into that. Let me take an example to make you understand what is consideration. Consideration means something should be exchanged between the contracting parties. If that particular concept is not available in the contract, not involved in the contract, not involved in the agreement, such agreements are always known as void agreements. Before moving to the void agreement, I would like to let you know what is an agreement here. If you remember, if you recall the definition or meaning of a contract is always the combination of an offer. I am just writing it down. An offer and acceptance. Let me rub it. Offer and acceptance. So when we get offer and acceptance, we will be able to make a contract. So offer plus acceptance. ACCEPTANCE. Okay. Offer and acceptance makes an agreement. So what do we get? We get an agreement. I hope the point is clear to you. AGREEMENT. Okay. So before moving to the void agreement, you should know what is agreement here. Void means not legal. You know that. Void means no legal, not legal. Agreement means offer plus acceptance. When agreement plus enforceability comes together, I repeat, when agreement along with enforceability comes together, that forms a contract which is known as valid contract. So what is a void agreement? Void agreement means an agreement which is not legal or which is not enforceable by law. So let us understand, let us recapitalize these lines so that we can get more clarity about what is void agreement. A void agreement refers to a contract that is not legal in accordance with the law. I hope this slide is clear to you. Let us move to the next slide. Now, according to section 2G of the Indian Contract Act 1872, an agreement that is not enforceable by law is always called as void agreement. I hope this is clear to you. There is a definition which has been given by section 2 of the Contract Act 1872. What is an agreement? An agreement is an agreement which is not enforceable by law is always called as void agreement. I just told you void means which is not legal. Okay, so there are agreements that have expressly been declared void, such as there are types of agreements. Now we are going to discuss about the types of agreements which have been expressly been declared as void. Number 1, agreement in restraint of marriage. I think we should refer the example first, then we can understand the meaning of this particular type, or we can say type of an agreement. For example, person X agrees with person Y for good consideration and that she will not marry D. Do you really believe that? Is it a valid contract or a valid agreement? No, this is a void agreement, because every person has right and to enjoy freedom to marry anyone. According to this section 26 of the Contract Act, every agreement in restraint of the marriage of any person other than a minor is always void. Please have a note of it. We are talking about there are agreements which have been expressed, been declared void, and such agreements are known as restraint of marriage. Gave you the example, person X with person Y comes for a good consideration where she will not marry with the person D. So this particular type of an agreement is always a void agreement, because everyone has a right and freedom to enjoy, freedom to marry with anybody. Let us move to the next slide. So now this is the question time. Let us understand the question and I'll ask you the answer after taking a break. Object or consideration is considered unlawful if it is illegal. If the object or consideration is illegal, do you really consider that the object is that it is unlawful? In order to get the answer of this question, please stay connected with us.
Now quality learning is easily available at your doorstep. S. Chand Academy brings detailed lectures based on UGC curriculum as per the New Education Policy 2020. So do not forget to subscribe to the S. Chand Academy and access the wide world of knowledge conveniently sitting within the comfort of your home. Stay connected and keep watching S. Chand Academy. Happy learning!
So welcome back to S. Chand Academy. My name is Mohit and we were talking about the next topic, the other topic, which was void agreement. In the last slide, we had a discussion regarding the question. So in order to get the answer of the question, please stay connected with us. Meanwhile, let us move to the next slide, which is very important to understand, or which is very important to get the answer of that particular question also. Agreement in restraint of trade, which is the another category. There is a freedom to trade or commerce to every citizen, and therefore sections 27 of the Contract Act declares that, let me tell you, agreement in restraint of trade is, there is a section 27 of the Indian Contract Act which states that agreements in restraint of the trade are void agreements. How? Let us have a look. There is a freedom to trade and commerce to every citizen, and therefore the section 27 of the Contract Act declares that every agreement by which anyone is restrained from exercising a lawful profession, trade or business of any kind is to the extent of void agreements. I hope the top point is clear to you. Agreement in restraint of trade means everyone, whosoever is doing business or whosoever is a citizen of this particular country, India, is absolutely free to trade and commerce. But according to the section 27 of the Indian Contract Act, that declares that every agreement by which anyone is restrained from exercising a lawful profession, trade or business or any kind is always extend to the void agreement. This is the third condition. Now let us understand what is the fourth agreement which comes to the void agreement. Uncertain agreements. According to the section 29 of the Contract Act, there is one more agreement, that is uncertain agreements. What are these uncertain agreements? A seller, let us take an example so that we can understand what is it. A seller of oil agrees to sell 100 bottles of oil to Mr. X. There is nothing clear to show that which type of oil the people were dealing. I mean, which type of oil was intended by a seller to the buyer. So this particular agreement is always void because there was an uncertainty, because there was no certainty to the particular oil. There was no brand mentioned, there was no type of oil mentioned. So it is absolutely clear that the agreement is becoming void because of the uncertainty mentioned here, because of the uncertainty which is present here, not mentioned here. I hope this slide is clear to you. So in this slide we have also discussed the another two conditions where the agreements become the void. Number one, agreements in restraint of trade, and the number second point is uncertain agreements where the terms and conditions are not clear between the contracting parties. See, the another two conditions are wagering agreement according to section 30, and the another type of agreement which is the void agreement, which is known as contingent agreement according to the section 36. These sections are very important in order to learn all these types of agreements. If me and you enters into an agreement where we both mutually agree that if Sachin Tendulkar will give a 6 on the next ball, then I'll pay you rupees 500, and if he does not, then you will pay the same amount to me. So such type of agreements are always void in nature because that comes under wagering agreement. This is a wage which we have discussed and which we have decided between each other. But such types of agreements are always void in nature, and that is why these agreements are void in nature. Next point is contingent agreements. You are into BCom, तो आपको शायद I think पता होगा कि contingent का meaning क्या होता है. Contingent means something, any एक ऐसी situation जिसके बारे में हमें नहीं पता है, which is an unforeseen situation. So contingent agreements according to the section 36 वो क्या होते हैं? Contingent contracts होते हैं. What are those contracts? What are those agreements? Agreements that arise due to any happening because of a specified event within the fixed time in future are contingent agreements, and these agreements are also known as void agreements. So let me recapitalize. We have discussed about wagering agreements and we have also discussed about contingent agreements. So let us move to the next slide to make it more clear. So void agreements with unlawful consideration or objects. Agreements. We understand what is agreement. Offer and acceptance that makes an agreement. Void agreements क्या होते हैं? Void agreement means which are not legalized. I mean which are not legal. I hope it is clear to you. So when something which is not legal, when something which is not legal, it means something which is not legal, it means that thing is not enforceable by law. That makes a void agreement. So void agreements with unlawful considerations और objects का क्या मतलब है कि void agreement अगर unlawful considerations के साथ चलेगा और objects के साथ चलेगा तो कैसे होगा? Unlawful consideration objects क्यों होते हैं? Because if something illegality is there, number one. Number two, if fraudulent events are there. Number three, if immorals are there, which means where if something is violating the principles of the law. Number fourth, if something is opposed to any policy which is related to the general public, and if something which is forbidden by law, which is absolutely banned or you can say prohibited by law, there comes unlawful considerations जिसकी वजह से वो agreement भी void हो जाता है. थोड़ा सा ना इसको explain एक बार अच्छे से समझ लेते हैं कि what are these conditions, why these conditions are unlawful considerations. Number one, we better understand in order to form a contract, there are always essentials required. In order to have those essentials, legality यानी कि enforceability का होना बहुत जरूरी है. If something which is illegal in a contract, then definitely that will lead to the void agreement. Number one. Number two, fraudulent activities. We better understand fraudulent activities, misrepresentation, mistakes should not be there while making a contract or while forming a contract with other people. अगर fraudulent activities create की जा रही है knowingly, then or unknowingly भी, then definitely lead to the unlawful consideration or legality of the objects, and that will definitely lead to void agreements. Number three, immoral. What I told you, immoral means something which is violating the principle of the law. which is violating something. अगर किसी चीज को हम लोग कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में लेकर आ रहे हैं, let's say if I am talking about a contract, और उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में something is there which is violating. Violating means का मतलब, violating मतलब क्या होता है? Do you know what is the meaning of violation? Violation means जब हम किसी चीज का उल्लंघन कर रहे हो, तो उल्लंघन कर रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब क्या है? समथिंग विच इज नॉट लॉफुल देयर. इट मीन्स समथिंग विच इज नॉट, आई मीन समथिंग जहां पे लीगैलिटी नहीं है किसी ऑब्जेक्ट की. इफ लीगैलिटी ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट्स आर नॉट देयर, इफ द कंसिडरेशन इज नॉट लॉफुल, देन डेफिनेटली अगेन दैट विल लीड टू द void agreements. Void agreements, again, those agreements which are illegal in nature. Number next point is opposed to any public policy. Any policy which is absolutely related to the general public. Simple सी बात है, we all are human beings on humanitarian ground. Sometimes we do some errors, sometimes we do some mistakes, sometimes we unknowingly represent something. बट लेकिन वो चीज़ें अगर अनलॉफुल कंसिडरेशंस में काउंट हो रही हैं, इफ दोज थिंग्स आर ऑब्जेक्टिंग वेयर समथिंग विच इज नॉट कमिंग इन अ लीगल सेंस, देन डेफिनेटली दैट विल लीड टू वॉइड एग्रीमेंट्स. क्योंकि वो अगर जनरल पब्लिक को अपोज कर रहा है तो डेफिनेटली दैट विल लीड टू द वॉइड एग्रीमेंट्स. नंबर नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज फॉरबिडन बाय द लॉ. फॉरबिडन बाय द लॉ का मतलब क्या है? प्रोहिबिटेड बाय द लॉ. इट मीन्स समथिंग विच इज बैंड बाय द लॉ. अब मैं कह रहा हूं कि पॉलीथीन बैंड है, हमें पॉलीथीन पे सामान नहीं बेचना, बट लेकिन फिर भी देयर आर शॉपकीपर्स दोज हु आर यूजिंग पॉलीथीन्स in spite of having that law. अगर आप उस law को forbidden कर रहे हो, then what will happen? You are coming to a contract, definitely. The buyer is coming to you and you are making a contract being as a seller. But लेकिन दोनों के बीच में law कहता है कि you should not use polythene. But लेकिन आपने उसको polythene में एक सामान ऑफर कर दिया. It means you are forbidden by the law. You are prohibiting. You are violating the law. And ultimately at the end होगा क्या? वो contract अपने आप में एक void agreement की form में create हो जाएगा. So I hope and I strongly believe कि इस स्लाइड ने आपको बहुत अच्छे से क्लियर किया होगा what void agreements with unlawful consideration objectives कैसे क्रिएट करते हैं. How does an agreement comes into a void agreement? Let us move to the next slide to make it more clear and to have more understanding. Now this is a brainy session to you where you can apply your mind, where you can start doing brainstorming and should know कि exactly क्या इसका आंसर क्या होना चाहिए. एक सेलर है, a person who is there to sell the tea. A seller of tea agrees to sell 100 packets of tea to Mr. X. मान के चलो X आप ही हो और यहाँ पे मैं एक सेलर हूँ जो मैं आपको कह रहा हूँ कि मैं 100 पैकेट्स ऑफ टी आपको बेचने को तैयार हूँ. ओके, क्या आप चाय पीते हैं? डेफिनेटली कुछ लोग तो पीते ही होंगे, आप में से सब लोग तो नहीं पीते होंगे. बट लेकिन अगर मैं आप लोगों को 100 पैकेट्स ऑफ टी देने को तैयार हूं तो होता क्या है, देयर इज नथिंग क्लियर टू शो कि मैं कौन से टाइप की चाय की बात कर रहा हूं आपसे, मैं कौन से ब्रांड की बात कर रहा हूं. जरा मुझे बता सकते हो आपकी आपके पास आप कौन से ब्रांड की चाय पीते हैं? टाटा की पीते हैं या और भी किसी और ब्रांड की चाय पीते हैं? बट मैं यहाँ पर आपको ना तो कोई ब्रांड स्पेसिफाई कर रहा हूँ, ना ही मैं आपको ये बता रहा हूँ कि क्या ये ब्राउन टी है या फिर ये ब्लैक टी है या फिर ये ग्रीन टी है. हमें नहीं है क्लियर. बट यहाँ पर एक चीज है कि हम लोग इंटेंडेड है एक दूसरे को लेकर के, यस यू आर हियर to purchase that particular packets of tea and I'm there to sell those packets of tea to you. But लेकिन वो पैकेट्स की क्लैरिटी हमें यहाँ पर नहीं है. So what do you think कि is it a certain or uncertain agreement? अब इसका आंसर आपको बताना होगा कि इस पर्टिकुलर सेशन को देखने के बाद हमें क्या लगता है कि क्या ये सर्टेन है या अनसर्टेन एग्रीमेंट है. बट इसका आंसर पाने के लिए हम थोड़ा सा एक बार पीछे स्लाइड पर चलते हैं और वापस से एक बार अनसर्टेन एग्रीमेंट को समझते हैं सो दैट यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड और यू कैन गेट द आंसर ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड. जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट. Okay, so we have already been discussed these two types of agreements. So this was the uncertain agreement. According to the section 29, please remember this particular section 29 of uncertain agreements. हम लोगों ने यहाँ पर same example discuss किया था और ये था related to oil and that is related to the tea. यहाँ पर भी एक सेलर ऑयल एग्री कर बेचने को तैयार था. ही वॉज ऑल्सो रेडी टू सेल 100 बॉटल्स ऑफ ऑयल टू मिस्टर एक्स. बट लेकिन बिल्कुल भी क्लैरिटी नहीं है ये ऑयल फॉर्च्यून वाला ऑयल है, ये मस्टर्ड ऑयल है, क्या ये देसी घी है, क्या है, आई डोंट नो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ऑयल ही इज ट्राइंग टू सेल टू मिस्टर एक्स, बट लेकिन यहाँ पे बिल्कुल भी क्लैरिटी नहीं है ये कौन सा ऑयल बेचने के लिए तैयार है. सो दिस पर्टिकुलर एग्रीमेंट इज वॉइड फॉर अनसर्टेनिटी. तो आपने अगर इस एग्जाम्पल को अच्छे से समझ लिया है, सो आई स्ट्रांगली बिलीव कि ये जो ब्रेनी सेशन मैंने आप लोगों के सामने अभी जस्ट प्रेजेंट किया है, आई होप इसका एग्जाम्पल इजीली आप दे पाए. दो हालांकि उस ब्रेनी सेशन से पहले एक बार वापस से हम लोग इस स्लाइड पे चलते हैं और वापस से क्या समझते हैं कि क्या ये जो मैंने टी और जो मैंने टी वाला एग्जाम्पल आपके सामने लिया, जो नंबर ऑफ पैकेट्स ऑफ टी हम लोग बेचने के तैयार है, वो सेलर आपको बेचने को तैयार है और आप भी खरीदने को तैयार है, बट लेकिन दोनों के बीच में देयर इज नो क्लैरिटी ऑफ द टाइप ऑफ ब्रांड और द टाइप ऑफ टी. तो हम यहाँ पे क्या एक बार देख सकते हैं, क्या इज इट इलीगल टू sell that tea? No. Is there any fraudulent activity? That thing not involved like that. Is there any immoral activity? No. Is it opposed to any public policy? Absolutely not. जनरल पब्लिक पीती है बॉस चाय, उसके अलावा फॉरबिडन बाय लॉ, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. लॉ थोड़ा ना मना करता है कि आपको चाय पीने के लिए, बट लेकिन अगर हमें इसका आंसर पाना है, सो लेट अस मूव टू दिस पर्टिकुलर सेशन. क्या लगता है आपको कि इसमें क्या होगा? सो इज इट अ सर्टेन एग्रीमेंट और अनसर्टेन एग्रीमेंट? एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, आपके दिमाग में बिल्कुल सही आंसर आया. इसका आंसर है अनसर्टेन एग्रीमेंट, बिकॉज इन दोनों के बीच में क्लैरिटी नहीं है, ना ही ब्रांड को लेकर ना ही उसके टाइप को लेकर. आई होप आपको इसका आंसर अच्छे से समझ में आ गया होगा और आपको ये सेशन भी समझ में आ गया होगा हम लोगों ने किस बारे में बात की थी. लेट मी टेल यू, वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट वॉइड एग्रीमेंट्स. सो हियर वी हैव कम टू द एंड ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर वीडियो लेक्चर. In this lecture, I was talking about void agreements. We had a discussion regarding the types of agreements. ऐसे कौन से agreements होते हैं जो void agreements कहलाते हैं. नंबर 1 हम लोगों ने कौन सा टाइप डिस्कस किया था, जरा एक बार बता सकते हो? जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल वेजरिंग एग्रीमेंट्स हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था. एग्रीमेंट्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ रिस्ट्रेंट ऑफ ट्रेड, मैरिज, और उसके अलावा हम लोगों ने कौन सा टाइप डिस्कस किया था? अनसर्टेन एग्रीमेंट्स. वी ऑल्सो हैड अ डिस्कशन रिगार्डिंग 2 डिफरेंट क्वेश्चंस और एक लास्ट में ब्रेनी सेशन. आई एम श्योर आपका थोड़ा सा दिमाग चला होगा और आप लोगों ने उसको समझ पाए होंगे कि अनसर्टेन एग्रीमेंट्स क्या होते हैं एंड व्हाई डू दीज एग्रीमेंट्स आर ऑलवेज कॉल्ड एज void agreements. Apart from that हम लोगों ने कुछ कंडीशन समझी थी कि void agreements अनलॉफुल कंसिडरेशंस के साथ या फिर अनलॉफुल ऑब्जेक्ट्स के साथ कैसे void कहलाते हैं. नंबर 1 पॉइंट था इलीगैलिटी, उसके बाद प्रोहिबिशन, फॉरबिडन बाय लॉ एंड एटसेट्रा. सो आई होप आप लोगों को ये सारे के सारे एग्जाम्पल्स, सारा का सारा कंटेंट अच्छे से समझ में आया हो, आप लोगों को void agreement समझ में आया हो.
If you want to study this topic in detail, refer to the book by S. John Publishing and Vikas Publishing House. Link is provided in the description box. If you found our video interesting, please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to press the bell icon.
All rights reserved. This video has been prepared for educational purposes only. No part of it may be reproduced or copied without the permission of the copyright holder.